Yes, welcome. This is yet another Wednesday night when we gather together for open talk. Open talk, you talk or I talk, or we hear one another. And when we move on. My name is Bishop Mark Karaoke, coming to you during the open talk and letting you know that your life is about to change, because life is changed by words. The words that you hear are very powerful. They can lift you up or they can bring you down. But at the open talk, our aim is to lift you up, because in the process you get educated, you get informed, and maybe you can even get a rebuke or a correction. Whichever comes, it is you to receive it, depending on the way you want it. And the open talk has been quite a good session when we bring guests from all over. And this morning we have a guest who is a friend of mine and a son of my friend for a long time, and he's also the senior pastor of one of our deliverance churches in Nairobi, and is a successful pastor, a faithful son. A faithful son is a son who the father testifies good about. If a father testifies good about the son, then you know that son is a faithful son, and that is what we have. And you know, in communication, there is a transference of spirits. When you listen to a rebel, you become a rebel. When you listen to a failure, you become a failure. When you listen to a successful person, you become successful. So I pray that tonight you will be successful. You will receive faithfulness. You will receive encouragement from our guest. And our guest tonight is Reverend Mathew Wambua. And I can introduce him. I can introduce him real good. But I don't want to introduce him. I want him to introduce himself. I want you to introduce yourself. So you bring greetings to the people and give yourself a real good introduction.
You want me to market myself, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I want first and foremost to say, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a joy to be on this program tonight, and more so with a father in this country, an apostle, a prophet that I absolutely honor and respect, that I look up to, in my life as a minister. As you've heard, of course, my name is Mathew. I am the senior pastor at Deliverance Church in Donholm. But my story doesn't begin there. My story begins a couple of years back, and especially when I got saved back in 1989. And of course, found myself under the pastoral oversight of Bishop, now Dr. John Masinde in Umoja. And I just began to serve in the church, and down the road, fast forward 18 years down the road, he decided to plant me out in Donholm. But we've walked together as a father and as a son for all those years, and it's been a great joy. I absolutely bless the Lord that he led me there, because then I found someone who understands the mystery of a father, the understanding of father relationship, and I didn't suffer, and I have continued to enjoy favor and to enjoy the blessing of having that relationship, because then it speaks into my life. And of course, in the process, I got introduced to the likes of Bishop Mark Karaoke and the apostolic team of Deliverance Church, which is an amazing team. I've watched them work together as a team, and which is very critical in the house of the Lord. And so I'm truly excited. I am married, of course, to one Nancy Mugeshi for the last 28 years with two beautiful daughters, one Kathleen Kavoy and of course Shalom Kavoy. Those are my two kids. They've already graduated from university, and so that tells you I'm not as young as I look. And we are blessing the Lord. And so, yeah, serving the Lord in Deliverance Church, Donholm. and we are really having a great time, enjoying favor, and even me and my wife totally attribute that favor to the fact and the reality that we started off from a place of sitting under a father and walking that journey that we still continue to walk, and will walk as long as we're alive, because we see the benefits and the fruit that we draw out of that. So really, in a nutshell, that's who I am. I love to serve the Lord. I love to worship. I love to teach the word. And of course, I also love to be part of the greater family of Deliverance Church, and just seeing the vision grow and continue to touch lives in this nation and beyond. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's quite something. Now, you mentioned something about the apostolic team.
Yes.
And I remembered there is a photo, there is a picture that appeared on the social media. I don't know that you saw that.
No, I didn't see it after.
There's a picture that appeared on social media of Bishop Masinde, Bishop George, Bishop Me, and other. And
oh, you mean that? Oh, yeah, I saw it. You guys with their floor and the bell bottoms. I saw that one. Yes, I saw it.
We had the bell bottoms and the platforms. We used to call them platforms.
Yes.
I don't know what you guys call them these days.
I don't even know they exist anymore. Yeah.
And you see, when you look at that picture, you can see consistency.
Yes.
That we didn't just meet here in Nairobi. No. We've been together for a long time.
Yes.
And that gives Deliverance Church a stability that is lacking in many other organizations.
Yes.
And of course, again, when we got to understand about fatherhood, and it's something which a lot of people do not understand. There's fatherhood and there's sonship.
Yes.
Which if the pastors would understand this, I think their ministries would change completely.
Yes.
Because I am, I can guess, or maybe instead of guessing, I can ask: are you struggling as a pastor?
I can assure you, Bishop, I am not struggling. Honestly speaking, I am not.
That is the answer that I wanted.
Yes.
Because we have so many pastors there who think they have got to struggle in order to serve God.
Yeah.
They are suffering for Jesus.
Yeah.
They are carrying the cross.
I'm telling you.
But I also want you want them to know that you can serve the Lord with gladness.
Yes.
Serve the Lord with gladness, and this is because you belong to a family.
That's true.
And in this family there is order.
Absolutely.
And everything should be done decently and in order. So, when did you say you started the church in Donholm?
Well, Donholm Church started in the month of June, the year 2007.
2007.
Yes, that's when we were planted off by Bishop Dr. John Masinde. And like I said, having sat at his training, being like an apprentice, working with him as a son.
You led worship?
I led worship in the church in Umoja. I did missions. I did errands for the bishop. When he told me, go get me stuff out there, I would do. I mean, I gladly. And that was really a blessing to be able to do that. And then 18 years down the road of having related with him such, sitting and submitting in his leadership, then he felt it's time to release us, me and my wife, to Donholm. And we went 2007 June. That was 10th of June actually. And the first service we did, Bishop, there was 400 people who showed up. 400 people showed up for the first service we did there. We just built a Mabati structure, nothing fancy, and suddenly we have this crowd of people. And I thought, well, people are coming because there's a new church in town. Maybe once the dust is settled, maybe they'll go back to their places or wherever they came from. But little did I know that it's like there was a real need in that neighborhood to be able to bring in a sober, solid church, a church that has a good name. And because somewhere like 5 months down the road, we were forced to start another service because the numbers were just exploding into big numbers. And that's been our journey through. Now we are doing 3 services by the grace of God. And I want to attribute that to that relationship that I shared with my father and continue to share. because he blessed me, he released me, and he trained me. So
in other words, what you are saying,
Yeah.
you did not leave Umoja, you were sent by Umoja.
Yes.
Because you see, there is a big difference there.
Absolutely.
There's a big difference, which
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of pastors are struggling
Yeah.
because of the way, the foundations that
Exactly.
they laid. Because you've been with this, with our father, and all of a sudden you decide, I'm tired.
Yeah.
He's only telling me to lead worship, and he doesn't know the anointing
Yes,
upon my life.
I know. Yeah. That's always going to be. And this generation that we're dealing with, Bishop, is a generation that is so impatient. They feel like, man, 2, 3, 4 years sitting under a pastor, and Meiva, I am ready, I need to be released. But 18 years I served under Bishop JB. And there is many that actually came through the church that could not stay.
Yeah.
They felt this is too much. I mean, I can't wait for this long. And they moved on to other things. I kid you not, today, many of them come and they're like, man, we wish we stayed. Because
now, you know, before the COVID-19 arrived, we had everything was running on very well.
Yeah.
There were people who were pastors who were preaching on television.
Yes.
There are others who are preaching on Facebook, and there are other pastors who are preaching against Facebook.
Yes.
It is of the devil. It is an antichrist. It is part of the 666 and all that.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
COVID arrived.
Yes.
And you see, when COVID arrived,
Yes.
nobody ever thought that the church would be, the church doors would be closed.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought or even imagined that they would, even if they closed for one Sunday,
Yeah.
then nobody ever imagined that 2 Sundays they would be closed.
Yeah.
And now we are here. You find yourself. You are used to going to church on Sundays. You can't go, and then the chief. And the mzee wa nyumba kumi and the police got the information wrongly that it's as if the command was you go and harass the pastors. And the pastors were harassed.
Oh, wow.
Now the pastor is harassed and he doesn't know what to do. How did you go through all this situation or transition?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, we were hit, I guess, by something, Bishop, that we've never experienced before, really. Well, I don't know about the older generation, but for me, this is something I'd never seen, never experienced before. And like you said, of course, when COVID-19 happened, a lot of us didn't know what to expect. We thought probably this is just a passing wind, it's a passing cloud, it will come and go, you know. But then, lo and behold, weeks went by, months went by, and even now we are still combating this thing. And of course, I remember the first night, you know, I'd mentioned the fact that we started a prayer movement. And then, of course, somewhere down the road, there was the talk about closing churches and something, you know, there was that conversation. The government had not clearly given direction, close or don't. And I remember one Saturday we were getting ready to do a service the following day. We had done everything to spacing the seats, to putting water points at places, sanitizers. And then, of course, around 8 in the evening, I get information that tomorrow the police will be here. You know, because they are not going to allow any church to be opened. And that was the same thing actually that was going to happen in Umoja as well. Bishop JB was ready to do a service. And so I called him and told him, well, this is what I have heard. You need to verify this information because then you don't want to wake up on a Sunday morning and then tear gas is being thrown at your members. I mean, that's not who we are.
Yeah.
You know, we work with the government, we support the government in prayer and stuff. So we called off our services. And that was now the beginning of having now to reinvent yourselves. How are you going to reach the people? How are you going to bring ministry to the people? How are you going to touch the people? How are you going to make sure you're praying with the people? And right there, like you've just mentioned, the very technology that a lot of us preached against, the very technology that a lot of us ignored, now became the tool of trade as far as the church is concerned. You had to go on Facebook, which was the first place to go. And I have lots of pastors that were not even on Facebook, you know, and YouTube is another story.
Yeah.
But Facebook alone, they were not there. They said, you know, these are the devil who wants to keep on, you know, getting involved in Facebook and so on and so forth. By the grace of God, we had already a Facebook presence as a church. In fact, at that time, I had, I think, about 13,000 followers on Facebook. You know, so we had trained our, because we were always streaming our services even before COVID-19. So it's like that was familiar territory for us. And that seemed to be like the only other place now that we were going to have to go if we were going to do ministry, pray with people, preach the word, and everything literally that we're going to do. So we just of course went on and started you know, doing chat on Facebook on Sunday mornings. Me, I wouldn't record. I would actually just go to church and do a live service. I would do 3 services. Well, the first 2 would be in English and the third one would be in Swahili, because I live in a place where I've got all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Those that come from Islam, that may not necessarily be very you know, conversant with the English language. So I thought the Swahili service would really help a lot. And so that's just where we began. Of course, because of where we are right in the heart of a neighborhood. We felt, because even every time the choir would come to just record worship for us to transmit on Sunday, my neighbors would be making noise. You know, Deliverance Church, Donham is doing a service. One time I had to call one of them and ask them, where did you ever find a church doing a service on a Wednesday morning, really? Because that was a choir practicing. But we felt we didn't want to be in that place of conflict. So we moved. I converted my boardroom into a studio, and that's where we began to do everything, even to panel discussions, even to prayer, even to the Sunday morning services. And that's what we've done up to when we were allowed to go back again to church and operation. But that's still running. The studio is still there. And that's where we are at as far as, of course, being on online platform is concerned.
How do you see a pastor in Kathiani, or maybe in North Mogirango, out there, doing a service?
You know, of course, there's going to be various levels and, if you may, limitations in terms of what a certain pastor in a certain place can do as opposed to what someone else in another place can do. We are lucky, of course, or blessed, if you may, to be in the city, and we have all, you know, at least a video camera or 2, and we had this, so we could use those and even figure out how to stream that live to our members. But we had also to ask ourselves then, how about that person that is not doesn't have even bundles, they don't have internet, how do you minister to them? And one of the challenges, because we have a congregation that meets in Mukuru, Kwaruben, somewhere in the slum. We actually call it Deliverance Church Diamond. And so I had to talk with the pastor there, and we agreed, look, what you do is that every day begin to write your messages, and you've got to package them so well so that it fits into an SMS. You know, because SMS, most people will still have at least a kabambe or some phone anyway. Even if there's no internet, they will still have a phone that is able to handle messages. And begin to be sending them scriptures, sending them messages one by one, each one of them. Thank God at least we had worked to be able to get the numbers of the members of the church, and especially in those other churches in the slum. So for someone who is probably out there in the remote areas where we're talking about internet and they may not have access, there are various ways of really doing ministry, you know, especially in seasons and in times like we are right now. And one of them for me is actually just using your phone. You know, a lot of times you don't understand how much potential our phones can actually carry and actually can do. And so that's why I advise this pastor, look, the best you can do right now is, number 1, is send texts. Number 2, call them, you know, as often as you can. We will load your phone with, you know, with airtime. call the members one by one, see where they are, pray with them, and do ministry with them and to them. Because that's all that you can do right now. And that's how we've managed to keep that congregation together. Of course, they've come back. They're now beginning to just go back again to normal operation. But for them, that's what we could do. Of course, for others, there were those that had to really like repackage themselves, because you talked about Facebook and many not wanting to be there. Now you had to learn how to use Facebook.
Then it was a part of the 666.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, and you know, that's the same thing that happened even when television came in. It was supposed to be the devil.
Yeah.
And yet, like, you've been on television, I don't know, for as many years as I've known you.
I've been there for 25 years.
Exactly. So, and definitely that has created a serious impact to people out there that probably are in a remote place and are not able to, of course, use internet or whatever or any other way, that all they have is this little TV, that all they have is that little machine that they can actually use to be able to get ministry. And that's also another thing that I realized. For example, now we have Wambua TV, which is a free to air, you know, and the fact is, even the people in the slums, most of them, a good percentage, it may not be 100%, 70%, 80%, have a little screen somewhere. So when you put your content, if you're able to, on TV, where every Sunday there's a service going on, and you don't need the internet, you don't need anything else, you just need to open your TV at a certain time, and there you receive ministry. So every one of these, I believe that God has given man the wisdom to bring in issues like technology, of course, for the purposes of the advancement of the kingdom. And sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what can we use? How can we use this technology to the advantage of the work of God and advance the kingdom of God? You know,
I like what you said about the SMSs.
Yes.
Because almost everybody in Kenya now can send a text message.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't even need a smartphone to send a text message.
No.
So as a pastor, it's just changing your way of thinking.
Yes.
The pastor needs to change his way of thinking and now see yourself preaching through the text message.
Yes.
And the goodness, you can send one message to so many people.
And most of these networks, like whether it is Airtel, Safaricom, such, they have actually packages that you can buy that gives you so many SMSs and just a particular amount of money. So you use that and you send SMSs every week. So and you can send a whole message.
That would be a good advice that we give to the pastors.
Yes.
To work through the SMSs, depending on where you are. Because again, we want to be an encouragement to the pastor that although COVID-19 has come, it has not come to kill you.
No.
It will not kill your vision.
No.
Because the gifting and the calling of God are without repentance. So don't allow your calling or your gifting to be killed by COVID-19 when you have a phone.
Yeah, it's true.
And then it is also, I'm also thinking it would be a good idea for a pastor to invest in a smartphone.
Yes.
Because these days they are so cheap.
That's true.
You can get a smartphone for as little as maybe 5,000 or less.
Yeah, less. Yes.
The smartphones are there, and a smartphone will help you do a little bit more than just a regular.
Talking about smartphones, Bishop, you know, like even on WhatsApp, you can actually do audio messages on WhatsApp, and that would be, you can even preach an entire message, and you just share it on WhatsApp. And people in their comfort can actually listen to your messages and get blessed and receive ministry. I mean, people have been, I really bless the Lord, because they say that, you know, need is the mother of all inventions. Because when COVID-19 hit, then suddenly now you realize people are praying with one another on WhatsApp. You know, they are having fellowship on WhatsApp. And all these other platforms, you know, that were made available. Things that we never thought could actually work for us now begin to work. For example, I mean, before COVID-19, we never thought we could be on Zoom, for example, or on Skype and on some of these networks, on some of these video conferencing platforms. But you know, the minute that happened, within about 2 or 3 weeks, I was racking my brains to see how can I keep praying with people. And I said, hey, Zoom is here. And we would actually do worship on Zoom. I prayed with people on Zoom. Because you know, Zoom is so amazing that it has features that you can actually split people into smaller groups just in the course of that meeting. And I'll split people into 5 groups. I let them now go, have a conversation, pray for one another. And it was amazing. I would have about 150 people kind of logging in every Tuesday to pray together. So technology just literally became the in thing. And Bishop JB says we are now flooding the online platform with more content than even Hollywood does with pornography and all that. And the church is now on Facebook, the church is on YouTube, and so on and so forth. And I believe that's really gorgeous, pushing us into the space of understanding that this is something, this is a mountain, the mountain of media, where we must be able to take. We must push our churches to the end. Bishop will tell you, we are dealing with a generation that is so digitally minded. Africa is said to be the youngest continent in the world because the average age is 18 years, 18, 19 years, thereabouts. And that generation is a generation that is a screen generation. So they'll understand you when you're on phone. They'll understand you when you are on your laptop. They'll understand you when you are on TV. That is their thing. You know, they want to wear their headphones, they listen on the phone, and they're good to go. And just seeing that, then we must be able to model and package our ministry to be able to reach that generation.
You know, I've seen my grandson, who is just about 3, and he can get a phone, and from the phone he will be able to get the game that he wants.
I am telling you,
So this we need to understand the generation that we are in today.
That's true.
That we cannot just stick to the 20th century, and yet we have come to the 21st century. The century of technology. So we would advise our pastors not to be ignorant technologically, to get involved and not to be afraid of making mistakes, because there are so many there who are afraid of making mistakes. So you don't want to go, you don't want to attempt this, you don't want to try this, and because it is in the making of mistakes that you learn. And pressing a wrong button does not spoil the whole program.
No, it doesn't. No. Actually, when we started, remember, Bishop, I mean, with all kinds of things on Facebook, because our pastors began to struggle to really be on Facebook. They want to do Facebook Live. And I had many of them calling me and ask, how do I get this thing to work? I have a smartphone, yes. I want to be on Facebook. I want to preach, yes. But he doesn't even know how to position them. Like you're saying, it's absolutely fine. Go on, make the mistake, ask questions, you learn, you know, and as you move forward, you will perfect your gifting, and suddenly you begin to communicate with God's people in a way and in a manner that brings value to their lives. Yes,
I think this brings in a paradigm shift. Because even in the giving. Even in the giving, people are used to bringing in their envelopes and being seen. Now they got into a position where nobody is seeing them, nobody is applauding them. So someone feels, I think I better keep my my money.
The pastor is not here to say, you know.
And I think that this is something that really hit most of the pastors.
It did. Actually, though, the statistics showed about many churches across the board lost 60% of the givings, 60% and above, because now, again, you know, people did not feel the obligation to continue giving, and I think that's where now that's a learning curve. The pastors must pivot to the place where you not only just want to, you know, the old tradition where I'm the apostle, so you bring your envelope, I shake your hand and just drop it, the sort of thing. I mean, you have to pivot from there into a place where you train people to actually be able to use the mobile money platforms, the digital platforms, you know, online giving, because incidentally, many churches in the West, they even recorded more giving than before COVID-19, during COVID-19, because there are people who are trained to give online, you know, so since it's something that they had learned, it wasn't, nothing changed.
They have been with this credit cards for a long time.
Exactly, yes. People here, we were used to dropping it in the bucket or in the offering basket and so on and so forth, and then pastor prays for you and you feel. Now, they are locked out in their houses and they're like, what you just said, I don't feel the obligation to give.
I think we've got to go back to the drawing board and bring this teaching to the people, so that we get our people not to give because you are being seen or because somebody is looking at you, but to give because you know God is seeing what you are doing, and he is the rewarder.
That's true.
He is the rewarder.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, there is you give to God, and somebody is thinking that when that money is given to God, it is transferred to heaven direct.
Yeah.
But whether you are giving it to God or you are giving it to man, the principle of giving and receiving works.
Absolutely.
So this is what we need to put to the people. That there are principles which cannot be changed by COVID-19 or by the situations that come. I think what we'll do is have a break, a short break. Keep holding. We are coming back in a moment. God bless you.
Welcome to Majestic City Worship Center, a place where Jesus is lifted and lives are changed. Our very first service shall be on Sunday, the 1st of November 2020 from 10 a.m. The church is located in Ruai along Kangundo Road next to Ola Petrol Station. Your life is guaranteed to transform positively.
We have been pregnant with the Majestic City. Our due date for the Majestic City Worship Center is the 1st of November. That's when the baby is going to be birthed. We will have our first official service as the Majestic City Worship Center on Kangundo Road.
Save the date, invite a friend, and come, let us together celebrate the faithfulness of God.
Well, welcome back, viewers. I hope you have had a good short break and you have taken your water just as we have taken ours, and we are ready to go to hit the road. Remember, this is Bishop Mark Karaoke, your pastor and your friend for a long time, coming to you through the Open Talk. This is Open Talk. We can talk about anything. Today we are talking about the church and technology, then the post-COVID-19 and all that. Maybe next time we're going to talk about FGM, female genital mutilation. Those are things that we'll be talking about and seeing the position of the church. I'm not very sure we are going to talk about BBI. We'll not take time to talk about that. But we pray that the purposes of God will be accomplished in this nation. That we are not moved by emotions, but we are moved by reason. Our guest tonight is Reverend Mathew Wambua of Senior Pastor Deliverance Church, Donholm, and we're just having a cool time. Welcome back, Reverend Wambua.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Yes.
Now we are getting back to people coming back.
Yes.
Or the doors of the church being opened up, which, according to in many places, has not been the way it was expected.
No.
Because you remember before when we were saying, okay, we want the doors to be open, we want the doors to be opened, and there was that feeling that people will flock.
Oh yeah,
flock in church,
so flood,
and it was just going to be another chaos.
Yeah,
only to be shocked.
Yes,
when it was announced, now you can go back.
Yes.
You find maybe 10 people have come.
Yeah, you wonder where's everybody else.
And 100 people have come. Yeah. You know, apparently during all that time, there is not one day I missed church.
Yes.
Not one Sunday
Wow.
that I didn't go to church.
Yes.
I did all my services at the church live.
Yes.
And I remember one day I'm preaching. I would sit on the take a chair on the pulpit and sit there and just to preach. And I see some police officer come and they were peeping and looking, but I decided I'm not interested in you. I'm preaching to empty chairs.
Yes.
And I think they also saw the empty chairs, and they said, "Well,
leave this man alone."
they just left.
Yeah.
But it was quite a situation, in that the people did not flock back.
No.
And this is as a result of the fear that was inflicted in the people.
Yes. That's true.
So I don't know what we need to do to get rid of that fear.
Yeah.
Because that is the fear that is a fear that is keeping so many people at home.
Yeah.
And they seem to be only afraid of the church.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of the supermarket.
No.
Or are afraid in the matatu.
No.
or on the streets, but are just afraid of the church.
Yeah.
Not even those in the bus.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not afraid.
No.
So you also see this as a tool of the enemy to try and hit the church.
That's true.
So that people don't go back to church. So we need to bring this to the people.
Yeah.
We need to bring this to the people and deal with that fear.
Yeah, that's true.
But while still dealing with the fear, we don't allow carelessness.
Again, yeah,
we don't say, okay, there's going to be now you can do whatever you want to do because COVID-19 is no longer there. But we need to encourage the people to follow the protocols. With the social distancing.
Yes.
I don't know what you have experienced in your place with the social distancing. You see, the first disadvantage was when they said that you make it 1.5 meters.
Yes.
Regardless of the size
of the church,
of the building, and that was quite a hit. Have you seen any improvement on that?
Well, the thing is, of course, I want, of course, to first reiterate what you've just said, that where we are right now, we cannot begin to be careless as far as observing all these protocols is concerned. I absolutely celebrate the church in this country. Because to be told, we've not heard, I'm yet to hear that the numbers have increased in terms of infections because the church went back. The church has been in, I think, for about 2 months now, since we started with 100, and then we went on to, I don't know how many, and then, of course, we were allowed to, just in terms of the size of your structure, as long as you observe these things. So, to that extent, I really thank God, because to be told, we cannot attribute any increase or spike in terms of infections to the church going back. So the government should understand that the church is actually working with the government.
And very disciplined.
And very, very disciplined.
Unlike what they thought.
Yes. If I'm to be honest with you, and I don't want to sound political here, some of the things we are seeing, actually is the leaders themselves, the political leaders, that are being reckless. Yeah. They really are being reckless. And
that's not being political. It's just telling the truth.
That's the truth. Yes, they're being reckless. And even now, last night, I think the numbers of infections was quite high. And they were actually attributing that to some of the meetings that the leaders and the politicians are having. They need to lead by example. However, that notwithstanding, what we've noticed, Bishop, is that, of course, we did the best we could. Space 1.5 meters in the church, and of course, initially, after the first Sunday, like you said, man, there would be a serious influx of people queuing to come to church. And we've been looking forward to this. Because they kept on telling us that, Pastor, we are looking for... In fact, I remember one brother who told me, Pastor, we are so glad now we are praying with our families. We are so fired up. We are not sure you guys are ready for us when we come back. And I'm like, okay, fine, we're looking forward. So with all that, we show up for Sunday. And I'm like, wait a minute. Where did you go? Because he thought you said you were coming. And it was a shock, really, because, and like you said, I mean, a lot of people, even now, they're still in that apprehension. In that space of, can I be safe out there? Will I be safe out there? And we've continued to reassure people, look, you will be safe. Because as long as you practice social distancing, as long as you sanitize, as long as you keep wearing your masks and all this, you will be okay. And that's what we have done, everything in our church, just to make sure that people have social distance, people have observed all these things. Once the service is finished, they don't hang around too long, go away. We sanitize, we decontaminate the church, and the next service comes in, and then we move on just like that, and so on and so forth. And by the grace of God, every Sunday there has been a steady growth. People are coming back, steady growth. Every Sunday it has been more than last Sunday. In fact, now we are to put a tent on the outside, put screens, because again, we still have to keep the numbers as they are, because of course, because of the spacing, a lot of the space in the church was taken up. So we have to do an extension, put a tent on the outside. So there has been a great study, and I again just want to reiterate, I think the church has done amazingly well and proven the government wrong.
I think the question that is still lingering in the minds of many in the church and the pastors is whether we ever get to a time where we get back to sitting the way we used to sit.
Good question, actually. It really is a good question. We'll ever sit again close to one another.
And also the issue of shaking hands.
Yes.
And high fives and hugs and all
hugs and stuff, yeah.
So yes, okay, when will this ever come? You think now the services we can have more people coming to the services, then all of a sudden the numbers are going up. So even if you wanted to give someone a high five, you just stop in the air.
You begin to think twice. Yes.
Okay, and also I think this is a good time to let the people know there is a concoction called MKC. Karaoke concoction.
I want that before I go.
There's karaoke concoction. And this concoction helps build your immunity. This is garlic, ginger, lemon, and honey. Now it is improved. Karaoke concoction improved. You add a turmeric. When you add turmeric,
it's not reloaded.
Yes, it's reloaded.
Okay.
You add turmeric there, it builds your immunity.
Awesome.
And it helps a lot. At least I have some friends of mine from the US who got hit by the virus, and they told me, oh, you know, this is all we were taking. This is all I was taking, and the thing was gone. I'm not claiming that it brings a healing, but they have said that the virus can only be overcome by the immunity of your body.
You need to be.
So you need to build your immunity, and
you need to patent that ingredient.
No, you can get it. If you go to my YouTube. I put it there to help.
Yeah, you done that.
To help the people, and you know how to mix it.
All right.
Well, now the church. What would we advise the pastors to invest on during now looking at the the corona period, now post corona, and the pastors are wondering, okay, am I going to buy PA system, or am I going to buy the internet? Am I going to buy new seats, or am I going to buy a new carpet? I think that's one area that maybe many pastors would need some help on what to invest on at a time like this.
I'll tell you what, Bishop, one of the things that if the church must take away from this COVID-19 period for me is that we cannot, if you're going to really be effective in doing God's work, we cannot solely depend on tithes and offerings on Sunday morning. We can't. My proposal, every church must figure out where can we also begin to invest so that there is an independent way of income that would help supplement what we do with the tithes and offerings that we collect on Sunday. So my advice to many pastors out there would be, look, you've learned your lesson right here, because once people were locked out, the collections dipped, and if all you're dependent upon was the collections on Sunday morning or any other time that you have a meeting. That's all that you depended on. The reality is that you were hit hard. But there's many ways that pastors, can actually just begin to invest. We were actually having a similar conversation the other day, and I even heard we have a pastor, I don't know whether it's Githunguri or some place, who has just bought some just piece of land, even leased, and built some mabati structures, and they're collecting rent every month on behalf of the church. And that's just an example, of the things that you can do outside just collections on Sunday morning that would help bring in more income, because we've known that if we do not think outside the box, if we do not begin to ask ourselves, can a church invest out there, then we get hit hard when we have pandemics like this. And we have no guarantee that there won't be another pandemic in the near future. We have no guarantee. And if it does, then now we should have learned from this one that we must find another way where the church can bring in more income. For example, we are so used, Bishop, to building cathedrals with tainted glass, beautiful structures. But between you and me, Monday through Saturday, there's nothing happening with that. It's a structure that's just sitting there. How about if we begin to build complexes or buildings that in the course of the week we use it for something else and we make money out of it. You can use it to do kindergarten, you can use it to do conference centers, you can use it to actually do babysitting. I mean, there's a lot you can do right now. The issue of the working class having house workers in their homes is really becoming a major challenge. Why you just convert it into a nice with creche and taking care of kids during, and you just said, bring your kids here. As you go to work, we take care of them. You pay money at the end of the month. There is so much that we can actually do as opposed to just putting up a structure and there it is. It sits Monday through Saturday, nothing happening. Sunday morning is a service of 2 hours. We close it and we go away. I mean, even for the equipment, Bishop. Right now I have equipment, for example, that I bought. We use that for streaming. We use that for going on YouTube. We use that to record stuff. I've told my team, look, we cannot buy this equipment. We invested so much in it, and it just sits here. Why don't you find what you can do to not only create employment for yourself, but also begin to go out there and make money for the church? Because a lot of people want their weddings done. A lot of people want their meetings done. A lot of people want their conferences done. You have equipment, go out there and use it. And there's so much. I think the point here is this. Figure out what are you able to do to supplement whatever people give on a Sunday morning. Because there's a lot. Just think outside the box as a pastor and find out what can you do that will bring more money.
During this time, I found myself with a lot of time here. Now that I was not going to the office, and I saw my neighbor's land. It was bushy. So as you approached my house, there was a bush on the left. I thought, why keep... And I used to clear the bush because I didn't know who the neighbor was. So just to keep my compound tidy. So I thought, why do I keep on clearing, paying money while I can plant some spinach? So I cleared the place, and I decided I was going to plant the spinach. And I said, the moment the neighbor realizes that someone is planting, they will come. And before I was done, the neighbor called me and told me, well, I'm your neighbor. I said, I'm so glad because I want to plant spinach on this land. Said, you go ahead and plant. So I planted some spinach, some gorgets, and I found myself working in the farm. I didn't know I was interested. That kind of interest. After that, now my wife has even started a grocery. A grocery shop where she sells skumas and all this, and not just in the shop, but also through the internet. That you can order
advantage
and they will be delivered. Which is an open door, because if somebody is working, they don't have. I was telling her the other day, you can even slice the spinach and pack it sliced, and you tell them now this you just put in the jiko for 10-15 minutes, and it's ready
to eat.
And even tomatoes,
Yes.
you can still cut them
Yes.
and put them in a container.
Yeah.
Tell them this is ready.
Yes.
So there is so much that we can do if only we could dare think outside the box.
Yes.
Because we have been boxed in here for so long. This is the way it is. You've got to preach so that you can get an offering, or until Motai Kagwe says now we preach because of the offering. And maybe that's the picture that we had drawn. I don't condemn him, because I think that could be the picture that the church had portrayed.
Yes.
But if we get to a point where we think outside the box, we'll say, this should provoke me to thinking outside the box and to know what I need to to do. And even the issue of buildings, that you just put up a building, for a long time, not a long time, but since I think 2015 or around there, if I was to build just a hall, I would have built several years ago. Several years ago when I got the land in Kangudo. But I looked at the place and I thought, if I just put up a hall, I will put up a big hall. But it is not going to be used in the course of the name. So my vision, that's why I got the vision of a city.
Right.
The majestic city. What we are going to put up is not a church. It's actually a city. And within the city, there will be room for a worship center. So in this city, we will have banks there. We will have offices there. We will have shops there. We will have butcheries there. We will have salons there. All the activities. So that Monday through Friday or through Saturday or through Sunday, the place is busy. We have people there. Not just people from the church. Anybody will be welcome, as long as they are paying some rent and leaving some money for the church there.
That's true.
Then at the top, right at the top, that's where we'll have like a conference center, a huge conference center with other small conference rooms. And this conference center will only be is hired by the church on Sundays.
On Sunday.
So all the other days it is available
for everybody else.
For when the teachers, when the KNUT. So what do you call it? Sosion. I was going to call him Sosnot. Because there was I know of a friend of mine called Sosnot. But when Sosion wants to have a meeting with the teachers, he can hire the place. And they meet there, and the church meets on Sunday. I grew the church. We grew the church in Nakuru in a social hall, the old town hall. And at times in the old town hall, there would be a dance on Saturday night, and there would be people drinking there and messing up the place. So I would get there very early in the morning, go sweep, even the vomit of the people who vomited in there. Go sweep. Then I would look for the air freshener, freshen the place, and by the time the people are coming in, it's sanctified. It's sanctified. Then I remembered, it is in that place where people got born again. People got healed. People received their miracles. So whatever was taking place the previous night did not prevent God from moving. So if we can change our mindset, we will be able to affect the community even much more than we have been able to affect now, just by putting up a sanctuary and calling it a church building and saying this is a holy place. The place is holy because there are holy people. That's true. It's not the structure. So if we can get that, I think it's going to be very, very, very helpful.
Right now, Bishop, even as we are talking, there is one of the gospel artists in this country is doing an event somewhere in the beginning, somewhere I think the 6th, 7th of November, and they look for a place where they can get good quality equipment, and good quality sound, and a place uninterrupted where they can do their practice. And guess what? They found us, and we are charging them for it. They are paying every day, to practice there, and they're giving us money. So you see, you just need to think outside the box, because that place, that hall has nobody using it. The equipment is just hanging there. So right now the church is going to gain money because they took an entire week. They even want some more time next week, and we are charging them every day to be there because they are using our equipment. They're using our, you know, our sanctuary, and they like it. There's great parking, and you can come and just do your thing. So you see now, we could just have said, no, we are a church, you know, you're going to make noise here, no. But they're paying money. And that money will go a long way to advance God's kingdom, you know, in a more positive way. And so that ought to be the mindset of a pastor out there, that, hey, this old school thinking that, you know, sanctuary church, you know, keep it holy, and it's a holy place. We're not saying that it should be defiled, but then at the end of the day, the church is not the structure, the church is the people. So when people show up there, then it becomes a church. And so we can use these buildings to actually make a lot of money that will go a long way to helping supplement what we collect on Sunday morning.
And I think this would depend a lot on the revelation of the pastor.
Yeah.
Because if the pastor does not get that revelation, he can be binding to his people.
Yeah.
And that revelation would also include, or maybe I should be asking, what would be your take about a pastor doing a business or getting another way of income? Because this is where the crucial is. Because there are those who believe, me, I was a teacher, I quit being a teacher, I cannot go and work again.
Bishop David calls them logs. Those who live off the gospel. I'll tell you what, Bishop. I don't see anywhere in Scripture that denies a man of God or a pastor, or whatever title you go by, prophet, apostle, whatever, that denies you from actually doing something else out there that could supplement your income. I mean, I don't. Even some of the greatest preachers of the now, and I could quote many, I don't want to do that, who actually have worked so hard out there, their businesses out there, so much so that they came to the church and told the church, you know what, don't pay me anything. I'll preach for free. God has blessed me so much out there that I don't need to depend on these tithes and offerings that come from the church. Let's use it for other things as far as the work of God is concerned. My perspective would be, there is no... Paul himself did tens. And he's one of the greatest apostles that we see in Scripture. You know, and even when he writes to the Corinthians, he tells them, you know what, I have a right to demand you to feed me. But for the sake of not hindering the progression of the gospel, I decided not to demand. I work with my own hands to feed myself. So anybody that say, you know what, me, I can only depend on what the church gives and that's it. For me, I think you are being unapita na wakati, because where we are is where you need to be able to understand seasons and times are changing. I said about a generation of 19 or 20 years, the millennial generation, you know, that is going to challenge even the way the church money is being used. And you won't want to be found in a place where your sole income only is a church, and then now you're being asked questions left, right, and center, and they begin to demand, that they begin to dictate on what they can give you. No, I think if all of us could say, look, if there's something else that I can do out there, I can actually do it and supplement my income. Go ahead and do it. And use that to support yourself, to stabilize yourself financially, and also to support the work of God. So from where I stand, I think it's a biblical principle. It's just that maybe what we're coming from a place where our understanding was old school. Umeitwa. You know, you left secular employment, you went into sacred. You know? But really, there is no difference right there. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, all of us have been called to serve, whether in the marketplace or whether in church. Yes.
I think that's a very crucial point, that all of us have been called to serve.
Yes.
Because God did not come up with the idea of champions.
No.
The champions was an idea of the Philistines.
Yes.
It was Israel, the whole of Israel, led by the king to go to battle.
Yes.
Until the Philistines came and they said, no, we have our champion.
Yes.
You bring your champion.
Give us someone.
And we bring our champion.
Yes.
If the two champions, whoever kills the other, you become slaves.
Yes.
And that's how Goliath came.
Yes.
And when Goliath came, he was now the champion of the Philistines. But God manifested himself in an unworthy, unknown kid, teenager by the name of David, who finished the champion. That was also to indicate I'm not interested in champions.
No.
And you know, the church had gotten to a place where the men, the bishop, the apostle, the prophet, these are the champions that we have in the church. These are our champions. But now God is bringing us back to a place where everybody is somebody, and everybody is a participant. There are no spectators in the church. So we the advice that we give to the pastors is think outside the box.
That's true.
I can say think outside the box. Look for something you can do with your own hands. Don't just sit there and wait for the offering on Sunday or for the tithes on Sunday, which may not come or which may not even meet your needs. And then you start borrowing. And then also to live within their means. That's true. Because we have so many pastors who are living beyond their means. And they are struggling. So you find someone, the pastor has a debt here, debt here, debt here, debt here, surrounded by debts, and is under pressure because of the debts, and it's just because of living a false life, which is not in within your means. Anyway, I think we have talked quite some, and our time is so much gone. I want to thank you so very much for coming and talking about the importance of technology and investing in technology and thinking outside the box. We need to think outside the box and to work with your own hands and look for alternative ways of income as a pastor and as a church, and to realize the times and the seasons in which we are living, because these are different times from the 20th century. This is the 21st century, and also to encourage the pastors that this is not the end of the road. If you have hit by the COVID and your congregation has been shaken, it's not the end of the road, and
you're not alone.
You are not exactly.
When you are in that space,
you're not alone. So cheer up. And let's get back. Remember, invest on technology. If you don't have a smartphone, invest on a smartphone. You get one and get to know. Start learning how to use that phone. It will change your life. It will change your ministry. I want to say thank you so very much. Would you like to just give a final shot?
Yes. I want to say once again, of course, thank you very much, Bishop, for the opportunity to come and just be on this show. And once again, I just want to challenge the pastors that, hey, it's not the end of the story is not the end of the road for you. There's a lot more that you can do. And moving forward, you cannot afford to ignore technology. Invest in the simplest. If you can buy a camera, go ahead. If you can't, start with the phone. There's a lot you can do with a smartphone. But please understand, we are ministering and preaching to a generation that is so smartphone savvy that you cannot just decide, I will not get involved. You must get involved, because that's the way to go. And like I said earlier on, we don't know whether COVID-19 is the last pandemic we are facing. We could be in another space, where we are challenged to either be locked again in our homes and stuff. And you need to be ready for such a time. In any case, Bishop, I think there's a clear push from God to get involved, to possess the media mountain. Let the church step out there. Let's get involved. Let's invest in technology. It's going to go a long way to advance and accelerate the preaching of the gospel. Thank you, Reverend Wambua, for coming. And thank you so very much, every one of you from Deliverance Church, Dawn Home, who are watching, those of you from all over in different parts in Deliverance Church and other churches. We want to say thank you so very much. Open Talk is your program, and we come to bring you the good news, educate one another, help one another, support one another, correct one another, and where necessary, rebuke one another. Thank you so very much. May the Lord richly bless you. We'll see you again next Wednesday, same time. God bless you, and have a good night.